Good morning to everyone in the US and good evening to those in India. Um, it's a great pleasure to present this webinar. So I would like to acknowledge and honor all my teachers, going back to Swami Dayananda in '76, and then Swami Chinmayananda, and then Swami Tejomayananda, and since '97, Pujya Swami Chidananji. And I should also add another teacher, my own mother, late mother, Adilakshmi Bepa, was a great source of inspiration and a living role model for everything that I am and everything that I have done. So with that, I would like to go ahead with today's topic. The topic is Vedanta's timeless guidance for today's living, and we can see how it is relevant today, even though a lot of the teachings go back almost 4,000 years old. The pursuit of happiness is the universal striving. That's the drive. You can think of it as the universal dynamo that drives every one of us. And it is enshrined even in the U.S. Constitution, the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. It is said that it is called a self-evident truth, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, it's only the pursuit that is mentioned, not actually the outcome of happiness. Sometimes people overlook that. So we look at life and go through life with happiness as a filter. Everyone wants to, if you're unhappy, you want to be happy. And if you're happy, you want to be happier. And so this is the process, and this is the human striving. Think of it as a go, no-go gauge. That is how we decide. Of course, these days, what we want to add to our sort of as we go through life, the bazaar of life, it's like adding things in your Amazon shopping cart. So we think that we want this, we want that, we want everything, and we want it now. And we, of course, those things are made easy to add to your shopping cart. But this is the decisive filter that we decide in all of our actions. Is the underlying factor. So, and we are reminded here in the US, we see signs all the time, bumper stickers on cars. Happiness is Hawaii, happiness is winning a lottery, or happiness is being single, happiness is being a grandparent, or whatever. So what we want is generally what we don't have. And we think that that will be the source of our happiness. So the two key assumptions are we are vaguely unhappy or incomplete or limited, and my happiness lies out there. So these are the two fundamental assumptions that kind of underlie what we do, and we'll elaborate more on what is the source of this vague unhappiness. Excuse me. So let us see how Vedanta says that both of these assumptions, in fact, are false, and we try to look at this. So we're navigating our journey of life, and if I can use the metaphor of a boat, and you think of what are the four elements that you need to keep in mind as you design a good boat, and this has parallels for navigating the journey of life. The four elements are for a good boat. The first is a keel. The keel is the longitudinal member that runs across the boat and goes into the water, and that's what stabilizes the boat. That's where the ballast is, and that's what prevents the boat from tipping. And so that is very important. If the keel is not proper, then you're literally dead in the water, and the boat will just collapse. The second is the hull, the body of the boat that shapes the whether it's going to be a fast boat or a slow boat or going to take a lot of load, or the purpose of the boat. And the next one is the rudder. The rudder is what allows you to turn, and as you go down the water, you make a left turn or a right turn, or gradual adjustments to the course of the ship. And lastly, in a sailboat, you have a sail. The sail is what captures the wind and allows you to interact with the outside world. So if the sail is down, then the boat does not move forward. Likewise, so too for our human journey, there are 4 questions, and that's where I'm drawing the parallel from the boat. And these 4 questions are, who am I? And that is like the keel. That is what determines and stabilizes the boat. And how do I act? That is the rudder, the turns that you make. That's the parallel. So, and the third one is, how do I interact? And that is the what should be my mode of interacting with other people, and lastly, what is my purpose? So 2 questions relate to myself, who am I and what is my purpose, and 2 questions relate to the outside world, and that is, how do I act and how do I interact? So and we have a lot that we can draw from Vedanta to answer these four questions. So going back to the first question, who am I, is the knowledge of the self. That is also called Brahma Vidya or Atma Vidya. This is the subject that the ancient sages reflected and meditated in the forest and shared with the disciples. And that's what the Upanishads are all about. As you know, Upanishads are called Vedanta, which is literally the last word or the essence of Hindu philosophy, and it literally comes at the end of the Vedas. And the Bhagavad Gita is a sort of the essence of the essence, the essence of the Upanishads. It's also considered as an Upanishad in itself. You can think of it as like the cliff notes, as we call here, or study guides, you say in India. So it really is captures the entire essence of Vedanta, and we will be referring to that quite a bit. So we actually get a clue of what the Gita covers in the Vyasa, the author of the Gita, has very cleverly given us a hint in the first word and the last word of the Gita. The first word comes from the very first opening phrase, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha. So the first word is Dharma. So Dharma has different shades of meaning. The first is duty, right action, the true nature of things. The essence of anything is its Dharma. So that's the first word is Dharma. And the last word in the 18th chapter, the 78th verse, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, and that ends with Mama Dharma. So Mama is the last word and Dharma is the first word. So that kind of gives you a clue of what are the 2 questions that Mama is mine, is the possessive case of I. So it answers the 2 questions, who am I and what is my Dharma? So, and in between the entire 707 verses are really strung between these 2 pillars, and so we get a feel for what the whole subject of Vedanta is. The knowledge, the who am I, is what is called Brahma Vidya, as I just mentioned, and how do I act? What is my Dharma? What is my right action? That is called Yoga Shastra. Yoga is what I need to do, and the right thing to do, and we'll get more into that. So, of these four questions that I mentioned, who am I is perhaps the most important question to ask. And Ramana Maharshi calls it the Paramodharma, or the highest duty. So, as a human being, that's our highest human obligation, is to know who you are. Because everything rests on that. As I said, that's like the keel of the boat. So, you need to be centered. You can also think of it as a gyroscope. So that's what anchors. Most systems in the air, satellites, they all have planes. They have a gyroscope which maintains a steady position even if the enclosure is moving. That is what a gyroscope is. So this "who am I" question is the most important question. It's the foundation of your life. If this assumption is false, as you could imagine, everything else that you build, like the superstructure, is also going to be fallacious and flawed. So, these days we think that we are defined by our followers, or the number of friends you may have on Facebook, or the number of followers on Twitter. And we hear political leaders claiming that they have millions and millions. But that is not how you define yourself. That is not who you really are. Excuse me. So you can think of our sense of ourself as like an operating system. When you like a computer that boots up in 1 or 2 seconds, when we get up in the morning, we get up with a sense of who we think we are. So that is our sense of who we are is our operating system. So and we start a fresh day with our do list and who we are and roles and responsibilities. So this is basically what we start the day with. And if this operating system is not correct, then the other things that you do would also be incorrect. So a right understanding of this can be very liberating, and out of this awareness comes the complete picture of who you are. We said earlier that we have this sense of limitation. We have a vague sense of unhappiness, and where is this sense of limitation coming from? There are three sources of that. First is we think that we are going to be limited in time. So, and mortal, we all know that we're going to die sometime. So that is vaguely disturbing to us, and we're not happy about that. The second source of limitation is that what we don't know. We know some things, and we don't know many other things. So what we don't know is a sort of troubling to us, and it bothers us. So the sense of ignorance, and perhaps contributed by these two is a general vague state of anxiety and unhappiness. And we Osho Rajneesh says that we go through life in sort of in a stupor without knowing who we are, and we are utterly unaware that we are unaware of this self-knowledge. But as Krishna and Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita declares, actually the very first verse that he speaks, the 11th verse, is a very famous and very reassuring declaration, asochan anvasocastvam, which means he's telling Arjuna that all of your angst, all of your anxiety, all of your worries are totally unwarranted, unnecessary, and illegitimate. So how wonderful and refreshing is that? So we just need to remember that. not knowing who we are is the mother of all sorrows, and that's the source of our ignorance. So out of awareness, and the liberating sense that we get out of awareness is what gives us joy. So you can think of our joy as the manifestation of our awareness, and on the flip side, when we don't have that sense of awareness, we are the ignorance leads to ego. So just as joy is the manifestation of awareness, ego is the manifestation of ignorance. So you can think of it as your ego footprint or ignorance footprint, and it is so these two are the opposite things. So the mind is a minefield of these distractions and delusions, and we have these notions about who we are without knowing who we really are. Eckhart Tolle talks about the mind being like a chattering monkey. So we have all these narratives that we tell ourselves that are constantly distracting, rather than being centered in who we are. J. Krishnamurti says that instead of saying that I am this, I am that, and keep thinking of who we are, which usually leads to a false sense, just stop with I am, period. And in that silence, and you may come to know who you are, and then recognize that you're in fact the essence of you is a spark of the divine, and that is eternal, and it is awareful, and it is joyous. So if you look at the characteristics of your true self, this divine spark, in Sanskrit we call that Sat, Chit, and Ananda, which is eternal, and awareful and intelligent, and joyous. So beyond the opposites of happiness and unhappiness. So this is precisely the opposite of the fallacious assumption that we have as an in the background. We think that we are limited, ignorant, and unhappy. So that's our erroneous belief. When in fact we are eternal, awareful, and happy. So it is kind of interesting that we have the exact opposite belief. So once we see that, then it's like a fog that is lifted away. The trajectory in our life typically goes like I am this, I am that, which usually has the underlying assumption of I am great. It's like a pounding of your chest and feeling how good you are and how great you are. And particularly when you're young, you feel you're invincible, you're omnipotent, you can do anything, and you're strong, you're wonderful, you're handsome, and all of that. So as we progress through life and get older and perhaps experience a few knocks, then we say, well, maybe I'm not so great after all. So we kind of take that down a notch or two, and then with more reflection and more thinking, then you say that, well, I am actually that spark in part of that infinite spark in the cosmos, and then finally you realize that you're none other than part of that divine. So in Sanskrit we say you go from aham to naham to soham to shivoham. So from I am to I may not be who I think I am to I am part of the divine. So this in fact is very liberating. So there is not really anything that one has to do. It's a matter of knowing something to remove this erroneous perception. So often the example that is given is if you enter a dark room and you see a coiled rope, which you don't see very well, but the room is dark. You only see a faint outline of it, so you mistake it for a snake, and so now that is the impression. So you're immediately troubled, and you step back, and you shut the door, and you then try to look for a how do I deal with the snake? Should I look for a stick, or should I look for something to to control it, or even to kill it, or do something with the snake? So you're preoccupied with the snake. So when in fact, really all you need to do is flick the light switch. So if you flick the light switch, you can't possibly think of that it could be a coil of rope, it could be a jump rope that your child is using for exercise or skipping, and so if you don't need a gun, you don't need a stick to deal with the snake, but the snake just vanishes instantly the moment you turn on the light. So knowledge alone is what repels this ignorance, and that is the solution. The second question is how do I act, and this is also very important. As I said, two questions relate to yourself, and two questions relate to the outside world. Of course, we don't have the luxury of just reflecting and meditating in a cave. We are, after all, in the world, so we deal with people. We have choices to make, and responsibilities and actions that we need to do every day, and duties. So, what is the right way of acting? And our Upanishads and the Gita have a lot to say on that. And this whole aspect is called Yoga Shastra, or the science or art of living. So the idea here is that it's the attitude that converts any action into right action. Ordinary action is karma, and right action is dharma. So what sets apart is the attitude. So there are a couple of verses in the Gita that talk about the elements that make a right action, an action the right action. We are normally there are three things that derail us, and they are the attachment, anxiety, and anger, and that's what derails us. I call it the derailing distractions of AAA. In Sanskrit, that's called Raga, Bhaya, and Krodha. There's often a misunderstanding that there's a verse, the 47th verse in the second chapter, that talks about karmanyeva adhikaraste, which is misunderstood as a right. It is really not so much a right. It's not saying that you don't have a right. It's really a control. What that verse is that you have a control only on your action, but not on the outcome. So it's not saying that don't expect the outcome. Of course, you expect an outcome, but recognize that that is not in your hands. So your input is deterministic because it is in your hands. The output is only probabilistic because it is not in your hands. The many other forces that shape the output. So there's a fundamental difference between that. In the Karma Yoga, which is the third chapter, also talks in a very prescriptive way about some very specific things. It's almost like a bullet point or a PowerPoint presentation on what is right action, which is the 30th verse of the third chapter. Talks about dedicating all actions to God and centering yourself on Him, and then without expecting a result or being obsessed about the outcome, and without the sense of ego, and then finally act vigorously without anxiety. So this is the most complete and prescriptive definition of what is right action. So this way, it is important that the sense of doership and the sense of enjoyership is removed. So as long as you have that, that's what creates the attachment. So I give the example of if you're playing a game of tennis and you're thinking about the score and what how that point will be played, or how the game score or the set score, all those things are distracting you from what you need to be doing at any given moment, and your focus really should be on every ball that is coming across the net, that you want to do your very best and return that ball, and that way you're thinking only of the ball, stroke after stroke after stroke, and not about the point score, the game score, or the set score. So when you think about those things, you're getting attached to the wrong thing, and that derails you. The chances are, that will not be a good outcome. And all three of these distractions are really our reaction to an outcome in different points in time. When something is very far and we don't have it in our hands, so our view is one of, I don't have it, but I want it, so we get attached to it. So all your thoughts are kind of driven by that sort of an obsessive desire to obtain something, rather than just what you need to do at this moment. You're thinking about, oh, how will it be when I get that? And it is so far and it's not in my hands. So that is attachment. Again, taking you away from the present moment. The second is when you're very close. Now it is not far, but very close. Then you're kind of sort of biting your nails and saying, will I get it? Won't I get it? It is sort of, you're torn between those two possibilities, and that also makes you anxious and takes you away from the focus, the concentration, and the purity of being in the moment and doing a proper action. And now the third is anger. You go back to the tennis example. Let's say you hit the ball in the net and you lose that point. Now what is your reaction? So the outcome is no longer in doubt. Outcome is known. You blew the shot and you lost the point. Now your reaction is one of anger. So these are the three things. When it is very far, we have attachment. When it's very near, we are anxious. And when it is behind us, then it is anger. So all these three, in fact, are derailing distractions, and we should avoid that. When every action is spontaneously the right action, when every karma is dharma, then you have yoga. So the union of those two. And one who does that is a skillful master or a yogi. So is this too idealistic, too utopian? And is it even possible, you might ask? It's all a matter of mindset. I believe it is possible. I think of a good analogy is what would be an example where you really do not care about the outcome and you're just focused only on the task. So think of life as a game of chess with your, not your child, but with your grandchild. Now, what would be the attitude when you play chess with your grandchild? And I do occasionally play chess with one of my granddaughters, so I personally know what that is like. My interest is really not in winning at all. I want to enjoy the moment. I want to enjoy the game, and I would like her to learn and master the game. So my interest is in her learning and the fun of the interaction and the time we spent in the game. So we're just both no other distractions, and we're just playing the game. It's our fun and her learning. So when we have that kind of a mindset, all work can become play, and work can be joyous, in fact. So we turn to the third question of purpose. Your purpose, very simply, again, we have that is like the hull of the boat. And people would ask at some point, what gives meaning, and what is the purpose of life? Some people ask that question at a young age. Some people ask a question in a very late age. But most people do ask these kind of essential central questions to life. Someone else cannot tell you what your purpose ought to be. I can't tell you what your purpose ought to be. Only you can determine that. But your purpose has to be something. I'll tell you this much, that your purpose has to be something other than yourself. Your purpose has to be larger than yourself, of serving. And too much these days, in particular, the focus is on, we see the movie and about Wall Street, and the character Gecko is talking about greed is good. That cannot be an enduring purpose. That may last for a short while, but your purpose has to be something larger than yourself, and only in the stillness, in the silence of your mind, you can hear the stirring of your soul and the song of your soul to know what is it that you enjoy. So I would rather be inspired by someone like Ralph Waldo Emerson, who talks about this in terms of his definition of success, but actually it applies to in a broader thing. It's from the very large to the very small. He says, to laugh often and to love much, to win the affection of the young and the respect of the old, to see the best in others, to leave the world a better place than you found it, in a small or big way, healing a sick child, a small garden patch, or redeeming a social condition. To know that one life has breathed easier because of you, this is to have succeeded. So this is the concept of making a difference, and that is what will bring you joy. So by definition, that such an action is selfless. So this is the selfless action that is also talked about in the Gita. Of course, as I mentioned in that verse just a little while ago, in the third chapter, the 30th verse, that is a perfect template for the right attitude, and that will help define and shape your own purpose, and that your outcome is likely to be good. And even if it is not good, you know that you've done it for the right reason. So that's my thought on this. Of course, people like Joseph Campbell famously said, you have to find your own bliss, and follow that bliss, and not think about again the rewards, but the joy in doing that work, and joy in serving. Many other people have also talked about that. It's only when you have that kind of focus, your calling, what is your true calling, what is your joyous calling, will come to you. Otherwise, it will be more like Charles Gecko and greed is good. So I would choose Emerson over Gecko any day. The next question is, how do I interact? This is the analogy that I give is the sail. So sail is the means through which a boat interacts with the wind. So if the sail is down, the boat does not move forward. So the boat stays still. So sail is the symbol or a metaphor for interacting with people. So I would say that our default mode for interacting with people should be should have Buddha as our inspiration, and he of course emphasizes loving kindness and compassion. So you should all interaction should be filled with kindness, with compassion, with love, and when it comes as a natural consequence or corollary to knowing who you are. If you truly know yourself as a spark of the divine, and they're not like a million sparks or 7 billion sparks. There's only one divine, and so once you see that we are all part of the same divine, then there is no need to prefer or to choose or to be differential in our response and our treatment. Famously in the 13th chapter, the 27th verse of the Gita, it says, Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parmeshwaram. The Lord is present equally in all beings. So we generally fail to see this. If I see the other as none other than me, then there is no reason to discriminate or to differentiate. Like if you take yourself, do I favor my right hand over my left hand? No, because they're part of me. Likewise, if I see that the other person is none other than me, so that is the basis of the golden rule. You treat the other person as you would want to be treated, then that should be your default mode. And in terms of everyone has flaws. We all make mistakes. But if you have a certain mindset of kindness, you will overlook that, and you will be less critical. So it's difficult to love and criticize at the same time. When you're criticizing, you're not loving, and when you're loving, you're not criticizing. Those two are sort of exclusive. So that comes from loving kindness, which is also in the yoga of bhakti or devotion. It's the same idea. Everything is to God, seeing everyone as God, seeing God in everything. Maya tatam idam sarvam. So the whole universe is Jagat Avyakta Murtinam. So the universe is just a manifestation of the unmanifested divine. So we need to keep that in mind. When we see that, then we realize that there's no need to differentiate. So that is the source of all human differences come from that failure, the failure to see the other as none other than my own. And that's where our inspiration should be people like Buddha and Mother Teresa. So when she worked in Calcutta, or pick up a sick child or a leper or an alcoholic from literally from the gutters of the streets of Calcutta, most of us we would not even see such a person, and we all, at least in India or even here for that matter, as you see a lot of homeless people in San Francisco, and I realized that it's only with some stroke of luck that I'm in the car and the other person is handing out, asking for money. It could easily be the other way around. I could be in his shoes and he could be in the car. So if we see that, then we have a certain a different attitude. Mother Teresa, maybe paraphrasing her words, she said we need to see the people who are distressed or diseased. She says they are a distressing disguise of the divine. So it's very appropriately phrased. The disguise is distressing. We recoil and we are shocked and we turn our head away. But in fact, it's a divine, So just the disguise is distressing, but we have to think of the divine and go beyond the disguise. But most of us, we are just distressed by the disguise. So that's a very, very useful thing to think about. And it's not easy, but it's a good mindset to have. So these are the four sort of constructs, and using this paradigm, we can our journey in life can be more joyous, more fulfilling, and less stressful, and So perhaps this is a good time to pause and take a few questions. Let me see if you click on the hand. That way, I will know you have a question and I can recognize you. Any?
Prasadji, can you see the list of attendees?
I see a number. Do I click on that attendees to see the list?
Yes.
Yes. Now I see the list. Right.
Can you see a hand raised there?
Yeah. I see one hand. So I just click on that. Right. Venkateswara.
Yes. And unmute the mic. Okay, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I unmuted, so it take a second.
You can ask a question.
Yes, Venkat, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, Prasad.
Yes, hi.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning, as I told you. I've been listening here.
You're in Hawaii. Yes, it's wonderful. Yeah, it took me a second to realize who you are, because I call that's wonderful. Happy anniversary, by the way. It's their 50th anniversary. It's just so wonderful. I feel honored that you took the time and trouble to get up at 5 in the morning, and thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you.
You know, it's very nice to hear your exposition on Vedanta, but it's clearly one thing that we've been trying to do for the last 50 years now, to discover ourselves and find the true happiness within ourselves. So it's very, very inspiring to listen to you and a very simple exposition of how Vedanta really chooses to act through us in our daily lives.
Thank you, Venkat. You're very kind. I feel very richly blessed. So I guess it's whatever I've done maybe in my previous life. Yes, thank you. Yeah, because we learn from everyone. As I said, not only my teachers, my mother, my parents, and also from one another. There's a lot we can learn every day, from the smallest leaf to the birds in the sky to nature. If we constantly see, often when I go to Carmel or go to San Francisco, see a beautiful sunset, I don't say it's a beautiful sunset or it's a beautiful bird, but I say it's a beautiful Brahman.
Yes.
So that makes you appreciate and see the Lord in everything. Yes. Yeah. There are 1,000 reasons to think of the Lord every single day and to count our blessings. Yes. So
especially
is that
Yeah, there is one more hand. Can you see top Guru Prasad Halsanad?
Okay. Very nice talking to you, Venkat. Venkat, we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to scroll.
Yes, Guru Prasadji, you can ask question. I have unmuted you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, sir. It was very enlightening to listen to you to talk about the timeless message. And I was especially amused and interested by the example of the tennis that you took. The players focusing on the ball all the time. And today I was watching the great Roger Federer take on Nishikori in Australian Open.
Yes.
And in an effortless manner, he defeated him, of course, over 5 sets. But what came to my mind, the question that I am going to ask, is about these sportsmen who have achieved a certain level of excellence. They are able to focus on the moment during the game. but why are they not able to translate this ability to probably to all spheres of life, or do you think they have achieved a certain level of yoga?
That's a very good question, Guru Prasad. By the way, you did a presentation a few months ago, correct? Or is it a different?
That's right, sir. That's right, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I enjoyed that. I saw that, and I remembered going to Ladakh and recognize some of the places. Thank you for your service too, by the way. That's a very good question. So this is actually a very deep and profound question. Why I mean, Vedanta is like an ocean. It is very wide, it's very deep, and it's of course very hard to talk about it in just like 45 minutes. But the essence, in fact, is very simple. You know, the great aphorisms or Shankara's famous statement, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Brahmeva Jivo Napara. You know, Brahman alone is true, the infinite one, and the world is apparent or illusory, and I'm none other than the infinite Brahman. So in kind of three cryptic phrases, but to realize the Brahman, to realize the ultimate divinity in the cosmos, we need to you know, hear. We need a teacher. We need to read. We need to you know, reflect on it. You know, they talk about the three steps: Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, which is you know, hearing, reading, listening, and reflecting, and then concentrating. So mind is very essential, and so I would like to think of the mind as a principal instrument. And now here comes the irony. While the mind is the principal instrument, it is also the primary impediment. So the mind is also a minefield of distraction and a minefield of delusion. So our world that we create is really a projection of our mind, and the collective projection is the world. So we need the mind, and the mind is a very powerful instrument, and we're all endowed with that we can reflect and recognize the divine within. But it also is the biggest distraction. And as Tolle says, you know, the mind is a chattering monkey. That's what Tolle called. So it is both a boon as well as a bane. So that's where the effort, the sadhana, the discipline, and all that comes. And how do we kind of polish and grind? So it's a little bit the tennis players, you know, the professionals. I think who's the famous Swedish player who had for the title?
Federer.
No, the Swedish one.
Borg.
Well, yeah. He said, "How is it that you're so?" Somebody asked him, reporter, "How is it that you're so skillful and you're excellent?" He says, in his mind, he freezes the ball. So to freeze the ball, you know, the ball is going at I don't know, 60 miles, 70 miles, and serving is probably even you know, much higher, like 90 miles or so. For him to see that ball and to freeze it, he's not seeing anything else. He's seeing only that ball. And he said, the ball is not small. The ball is as large as a watermelon. And so it is easy for me.
Yes.
That's what Borg said. So to you and I, the ball, we miss the ball because it is so small and so fast, whereas he thinks the ball is like a cannon, you know, or a watermelon, you know, 10 times larger, because he froze it. So he thinks the ball is coming very slowly, and he can hit it any time and place it anywhere on the court. So that comes from the focus. But to stay in that is the challenge. You know, we know this. We know that, you know, Brahma Satyam, but we don't remember that. You know, when somebody cuts us off in front of us in the car, strays from another lane without giving a signal, we don't really see the Brahman in the person who cut us off. We get angry and we, you know, honk the horn or do worse. So it is that's where the discipline comes to catch yourself promptly I should not act, I should not react like that, but act. The difference in those situations is when you act out of ego, that is a reaction. When you act out of the larger goodness, the enduring goodness, the most good for the most people, the enduring good, then you're doing the right action. And then you think of the golden rule. How would I like to be treated? Maybe the person got distracted, or maybe the person was, had to take the exit or something. So we cut the person some slack. So it is just a remembering. So the mind is useful, but the mind is also a challenge. Swami Chinmayananda famously said, it's like you need the pole to vault, but you can't go across with the pole. So the mind is like that. It helps you go to that lofty height, but you have to leave that pole and to in fact get across. So it is sort of an asymptotic journey every day. If we remember that, famously in scriptures it is said the Brahman is they talk about anantam avarniyam adhyatam. It's infinite. It is beyond description and ineffable. So it's beyond words, and so it's the nature. And yet we have only our mind, but inside that is the spark. Kutoyam agnihi, na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. So the infinite light in the cosmos, even the sun and all those things, they don't shine within that cave of our heart. And that light in the cosmos, that sun and the light within is the same light. So it's in remembering.
So very, very eloquently explained, sir. Very nice. I think the example of pole vault is indeed very apt, I thought, because some of the sportsmen who achieved a very high level of excellence, they have spoken about this experience of playing at a high level as a playing out of a no mind kind of situation.
Yes.
The mind is not working.
Exactly.
So
it is totally immersed.
Yeah, totally immersed. Thank you very much, sir.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. That is Swami Chinmayananda's. It's not mine, but some examples make a deep impression, and they come to you vividly. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So you have other questions? Let me see down the list.
Miss Ramani Vishnubhotla.
Okay. Can you click?
I have already clicked.
You have.
Yes,
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Ramani. How are you?
Prasad, wonderful, very nice, very well organized, concise lecture and talk, and very simple. And of course, the thoughts were so organized, and the relationship, the examples were very, very meaningful. And the analogy of the boat analogy definitely stuck with me, and it's more, it's big meaningful for me. And of course, seeing divine in everyone. I see it through my father's, Sarmagaru's way of leading life. I have seen that definitely, and of course, somewhere and a half through the lecture, I was hoping, I hope there would be a reference to Mother Teresa, and I was really happy that that reference was brought in, and she was definitely ultimate in that yoga sastra, with really doing the action part of it and seeing divine in everyone. Right. And it's a journey, and very well, very organizedly, eloquently given lecture. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ramani. Thank you so much that you could be there.
Thank you.
See some more hand.
Now it was Ishwar.
Yes, can you please
I've unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Vasanta, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Prasad Garu?
Thank you, very well.
I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I really enjoyed it. And what I found is that you expressed such complex and deep concepts in such a beautifully simple manner for us. And as you were speaking and you were quoting both, from the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and, Emerson and your teachers, I had this sense that you were a pearl diver, that you're going repeatedly into the ocean, you're doing all the hard work, and you're just presenting us with the pearls. And, it was done in such a beautiful manner. So, the likes of me could actually, just get the essence of it. So thank you for doing all the work, for people like me. My question here, you mentioned that you cannot love and criticize at the same time. Now, being a parent of a teenager, there is, correction involved, especially when, you're trying to prevent them from making wrong choices, or, just the process of raising a child. So how do you reconcile those opposites? Obviously, I love my child. Every parent does. So how do you reconcile, loving and yet, having that ability to correct them so they stay on the right path?
Very, very, very good question. Thank you for those kind words. So I'm no pearl diver. It's all the teachings is there, and from our ancient sages and our ancient scriptures. I try to maybe put it in a few metaphors, like the 4 questions and the boat that maybe that we can relate to. But none of this is my own. It's what I've learned from the scriptures and from the teachers. To go to your question of parenting and criticizing and loving at the same time. So again, as I said, if you see what is action by itself, does not distinguish itself. It is attitude. So when you're correcting a child, maybe with some feedback, which maybe seems like criticism, if you're not the beneficiary, there's no problem. Only if you are a beneficiary, if you do it out of anger, if you do it out of ego, if you want to punish the child, if you want to prove that you're right, if you want to put down the child, that is bad. But if you, within your heart and within your body language, if you hug the child and you reinforce and you say that, I know you meant well, I know you will do better, I know you overlooked this, will you keep this in mind? So that's what tough love is. Psychologists talk about it all the time. So parents instinctively do tough love. So if you want to mollycoddle them so much that you make it so easy, then actually you're doing a disservice. So it would be, you'll be remiss as a parent if you don't point out, I maybe old school. I often do that. When I bringing up my children, of course, coming from the Indian culture, we always say that we never praise children in at least in public. And right. Because the belief is that then it kind of gets to the head,
Exactly.
So
my dad belonged to that same school, so yes, I know.
all of us do generally, but in this country, of course, you do one small thing, you get a silver star or a gold star, and my granddaughters bring back all these things with the stars. So it's important. So we need to see the good techniques of what they do in America, but if you this famous example of somebody was seeing a little bee struggling and newborn or like a coming out of a cocoon, not a bee but a butterfly that is coming out from the larva out of the cocoon. So the person said, oh, it is struggling so much, So let me help it along and cut off the layers of the cocoon so that the butterfly could come out of the cocoon and fly. But of course, that butterfly did not fly.
Right.
Because the way the butterfly gets its strength in the wings is through the struggle. So it's the struggle that is important. So it's very hard for parents to see a child struggle. We want to make things a little bit easy for them, and and help them along. But often that can be counterproductive. So the important thing to remember is: are you the beneficiary, or is the other person the beneficiary? If your action is selfless, you're doing it strictly for the other person, then it's fine. You can criticize because it is not out of your ego or your anger, but it's just to make a point. I remember very well when one of my granddaughters, when she was, I don't know, barely 2 years old, she walked off the curb and onto the street side of the car to get in.
Oh my God.
And I just read the riot act to her. I just picked her up and stood her on the curb and really yelled at her. And I said, "Don't you ever do that." And she cried and complained to my daughter. And she said, "You know what Tata did? You know, he held me with his hand and he shook me and he scolded me so severely, and he never does that. I'm so scared." And I said, "Yes, I did that, Hanu, because normally I'm so gentle and so loving to you, but you did something very wrong, and so I'm not the beneficiary there." And I, my daughter got angry too, and I said, "Why were you so rough with my child?" I said, I am going to be rough because it's very important. It's that's the type of mistake that she cannot afford to make, because she could be hit. You always enter only from the curb side, but not from the street side. Two doors on the passenger side. So I was not a beneficiary. So, and I hugged her, kissed her, love her all the time, and she knows that, and that's what shook her. But how come Tata, who loves her so much and is always playing and loving to her, yelled at her? Because her safety is my objective, not my ego or anger.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions?
Yes, Jyoti Verma. Jyoti, can you ask the question? I think she has written a question on the question pen. Can you open that panel of the questions? And you will be able to read it.
Oh, yes, okay. In a corporate world, we are often told to speak up. If it is a situation of performance review, do we accept the review the manager gives us, or do we raise the issues if we are not satisfied with the review? Most of the time, they stick with their decision. But at what point we should feel content? Well, that's a good question. It's a situation that we often encounter. A lot of these things are by nature subjective. So there is a certain amount of faith and trust, and that's based on the experience with the person. There's a reason why the person is a boss and you're an employee, and so either more experience, more wisdom, whatever. If on the other hand your track record shows that the person was not objective, was not fair, then you have a reason to have a conversation. But usually it is how you take the emotion out of that. When you deal with the situation, you can either show your anger, disappointment, and emotion, say that I am upset, I disagree with it, or I object, I'm going to appeal, and all that. You can say that I am upset, but you say it in such a way that you express your emotion in a somewhat in terms of the tone, the decibel level, the body language, and all of that. Your emotions are your emotions. When you say that I feel this way, I saw it this way, and I'm troubled by that, people generally will not have problem with that. And then you can say that, so obviously you see it differently. Can you explain? Can you elaborate? Can we talk about it? So that, start with your emotion. And if you jump to a conclusion, then that's when you get into troubled waters. If you just stick with observed behavior, it's okay to say that I got a bad review, I got a rough review, I thought that I did a good job, so obviously we have a divergence in opinion. Can we talk about why we have this different perception? And I feel hurt, but you're not going to rant and rave and slam your fist on the table and get into a tirade and attack the person or go into the motives. We don't know. We can't read somebody else's mind. But the moment you get into motives and say, I think you did this because you favored that other person or you remember something from last year, now you're getting into real trouble because you're speculating, you're imputing motives, and that is not right. So just stick with observed behavior and talk about your honest emotions and try to resolve it and say, how can we talk about it? That takes away the sting of emotion and makes it more objective.
I think the last question by Gauri Ramakrishnan.
Yes.
I'll unmute her. Yes, Gauriji.
Hi,
Hello.
Gauri, how are you? Hari Om. Is she unmuted?
I have unmuted her.
Okay. Did she write the question or did she?
She raised the hand.
Okay.
There's some problem with her mic.
I see.
Okay.
Unmute, Gauri.
I think Vasanta Ishwar also has raised the hand. I'll unmute her.
Okay. Or you can try Gauri again maybe after.
Yes,
Okay.
Gauriji.
Is Gauri there?
Mm-hmm.
No.
She's raised the hand again, but
I think there is a time lag. I see the mic. Should I click on the mic?
I did click it. It's on, but I don't know what. There's something on her end which is not.
I see.
Some technical issue on her end. Now we'll take this Vasantaji's question and we'll wind up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll unmute her. Yes, Vasantaji.
Yes, hello Varshaji, how are you?
Good. Hi, how are you?
Hi. So my final question now, this is the first time I've attended your webinar, but is it part of a series or is it the first one, and do you intend to do more in any kind of a, regular manner?
This is a first one, and I'm doing this at the invitation of Pujya Swamiji and Vivaji as part of the Forward Forum. I have given other talks in the Bay Area. I talked to various groups both in San Francisco and in Silicon Valley. I don't know where you are.
I'm in El Dorado Hills, near east of Sacramento.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah. I know where you are. Well, next time there's any talk here, I will definitely let you know.
Certainly, I would like that. Thank you very much again.
Yeah. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Prasadji. It was really, really very nice, very enlightening.
Hari Om. Thank you again. Can I like to close with a brief prayer?
Yes, sure.
Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. The first prayer basically says from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, very appropriate actually for almost any occasion, but particularly for a learning environment, what we're all trying to do here, this journey. Lead me from the unreal, the ephemeral, to that permanent reality. Lead me from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge. and lead me from the endless cycles of death and rebirth to eternal, going beyond death, to that transitive, transcendent unitive state with Brahman. So it was a very beautiful, one of my favorite prayers from this ancient Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka. Thank you, Hari Om. Thank you for your participation. I'm very honored and humbled, and always learn from people. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om Prasad.